To bring us now more on these latest developments on Syria, we speak now to Dr. Marcus Papadopoulos, the editor of Politics First. Thank you very much, Marcus, for joining us. So first of all, what can you tell us about the significance of the liberation of Douma for the Syrian government?
Well, I think the significance is that the inhabitants of Douma, of the whole of East Ghouta, have now been liberated from Islamist Wahhabist tyranny, because for nearly 6 years those people have been subjected to the most brutal of measures by those terrorists: murder, rape, abduction. And the footage of the liberated region of East Ghouta really speaks for itself. Tens of thousands of civilians celebrating in the streets, welcoming their sons and daughters, their brothers and sisters in the Syrian army. That footage is not being shown by BBC News or Sky News or CNN or Fox News. Why? Because it undermines the narrative which is being put out by Washington and London.
Speaking of the narrative being put out by Washington and the West in general, what do you make of Donald Trump's recent tweets today backtracking on a possible military intervention in Syria?
We need to be extremely cautious when it comes to Donald Trump. He literally says one thing 1 minute and then another thing another minute. I do hope that people around him, for example, the likes of James Mattis, are telling him of the real significant possibility of there being a clash between America and Russia should Donald Trump decide to commence with some sort of military offensive against Syria, because it is not inevitable that there will be a clash between Russia and America, but the potential is there, and I hope Mr. Trump is being warned. Going by his tweets, which, as I said, we have to be careful about, but going by his tweets today, it would seem that he has backtracked somewhat.
And what do you think, finally, about Prime Minister Theresa May's holding of this cabinet meeting for possible military intervention in Syria and by bypassing Parliament?
Well, it is frighteningly reminiscent of what happened in the run-up to the Iraq War, because we had a belligerent American president calling upon Britain to join in a military campaign before the United Nations had been allowed to investigate the allegation, and on the basis of flimsy evidence. Now, I do hope that Theresa May refers this case to the House of Commons, because her case needs to be listened to, it needs to be discussed, and it needs to be tested, because quite frankly, I think their case is absolutely hopeless, because we know that Syria does not have chemical weapons. The United Nations inspectors confirmed that at the beginning of 2014. And also, the Syrian army had already won the battle for East Ghouta. So why would they, after having won the battle, why would they have then used chemical weapons? It makes no military sense whatsoever. But it takes me back to my first point. The United Nations at the beginning of 2014 confirmed to the whole world that Syria had destroyed its chemical weapons stockpile. That is why this matter needs to go before the House of Commons. The British Parliament needs to have its say. The British public needs to have its say.
Well, that is where we have to leave things for now. And thank you very much, Dr. Marcus Papadopoulos, the editor of Politics First.